Hello, all my Lukey Poos. Welcome back to another awesome episode of Talk Gaming, the only internet talk show which consistently redefines perfection itself. I am your host, Lukey Poo, and today I wanted to discuss CD Projekt Red's much anticipated and upcoming game, Cyberpunk 2077, and specifically, specifically the multiplayer elements. Many people in the large open world narrative driven RPG community have expressed disdain for the idea of multiplayer in CD Projekt Red's upcoming work. They have been open that they are looking into multiplayer elements. They haven't been super clear as to what that would mean specifically, but they have said that they are looking into it. They filed a couple patents and looked for a few grants that have been discussed in the gaming community. So I just want to talk about this, share my 2 cents, whether or not it's a deal breaker for me if I see that, oh crap, it's going to be a multiplayer game, because a lot of people, they get disappointed when they hear multiplayer. They think of huge flops in the past where the game has sacrificed single player elements for the sake of multiplayer elements. Think of even Assassin's Creed Unity. Many people were excited about it, but it turns out that they made many sacrifices in the single player campaign, in the glitch and QA departments, all just to manage something that was much bigger than they could handle. So a lot of people view it as a deal breaker. What's my opinion of it? I don't think it's a deal breaker at all. I think that it's actually potentially going to be a very cool feature. And let me just share with you what my understanding of these multiplayer elements are, at least as they have been expressed through these leaks. So of course, take this all with 2 cents. I'm taking it with a pinch of salt, rather. You really can only take it so far. You probably shouldn't take it to the bank, but this is what I've heard. This is my understanding from my sources, so take it or leave it. But what I've understood and what I've heard is that the multiplayer elements that they're looking into resemble much more The Division. And that's what this individual that I was speaking to, with close knowledge of the development process, he said, think The Division. And if you're not familiar with The Division, essentially how that worked was that there was a strong single-player element, but it really came together when you would get into this sort of center of the map, and there were many multiplayer elements, and you could actually play with other people, but it didn't necessarily take away from your ability to play single-player. And it was all blended. There wasn't one online mode and then single-player mode. It's all kind of blended together. He said that's what it's going to be like. He said the setting of the game, the setting of Cyberpunk 2077, in very simple terms, is this dystopian kind of futuristic city, and a very large city. And they want the city to feel alive, feel lived in, feel inhabited. And they said one way they could do that is by having really lifelike NPCs with amazing AI, and they do their own thing. And then, there's thousands of them. And they have really interesting stories and side quests. Each of them have their own personality and background. He said they could do that, but that would take a lot of time and effort and money that probably is not going to jive super well with people's already lofty expectations in terms of the release date. So, and price tag, not to mention the price tag. So he said one of the other ways that they looked into doing it was very simply having players do that. Having players make it feel lived in. He said they've drawn inspiration from games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and, of course, The Division, which seem to do this very well. However, he thinks that they can do it even better by blending the two almost seamlessly. So, if you're playing the game and you enter a certain area of the map, all of a sudden you run into a real-life player, and it's seamless. You didn't try to enter multiplayer. You didn't try to enter into a server or something. It just works, and it just happens. The world is seamlessly integrated. Now, there's a lot of issues with this that people have raised. They're saying, well, that sounds great, fine and dandy, but what if I have a crappy internet connection? What if I'm not connected to the internet at all? What if I'm playing on my PS4 and I try to keep it or my Xbox One, and I don't like connecting it to the internet because then all the ads just weigh it down. Like what happens if I don't have a great connection or no connection at all? And that's a very good question, to be honest. I'm sure that they'll think of that, and perhaps maybe you just enter that area of the map and NPCs take the place of those players. Maybe it's just seamless, and it's perhaps even a feature that you can choose to turn on or off. Even think Bloodborne, where you can play kind of a co-op type thing, or you can play just single player, something like that. Which could be very interesting and very intriguing. And of course, it's going to take some balancing and careful work on the development team to make sure that people don't get any unfair advantages if they're playing co-op, or perhaps maybe you should have unfair advantages if you're playing with another player. You know, if two people are doing the work of one person, you're probably going to get some bonuses. You're going to get some easier boss fights, easier sequences, which frankly makes sense. So all in all, for me, it's not a deal breaker at all. I think it has potential to be very, very interesting. Imagine playing through The Witcher 3 and then you just run into another Witcher who happens to be a real person who lives down the street from you, and then you go off and you slay a griffin together. That's a very, very cool concept. People just tend to put up a wall when they hear multiplayer because of some scarring that's occurred in the past with other games that promise to do the same thing. And we can only hope that it's going to be, this time it's going to work, that this will be the groundbreaking game that does it perfectly. And certainly CD Projekt Red has the potential to do that. They have the worker, or they have the faculty, and they have the staff to do it. They have the passion for it, and they have the time to do it well. So I think it's not a deal breaker, but I am going to be a little reserved until I hear more. But I thought it was a very interesting question to ask, something that I thought would be fun to discuss. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. I read all of the comments, and they all get sent to my phone, and I try to respond to as many as I can. You guys are phenomenal about leaving feedback, and I love you all for it. So thank you, and leave any thoughts you have down below as well. And if you want to become a supporting member of the Lukey Poo Bowel movement, then go ahead, check out my Patreon. Helps keep the show going. I am a college student, and so anything really does help justify the time that's put into this channel. But thank you for watching, guys. I love each and every single one of you more than you can possibly know, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.